Hi, everyone. Harry here to talk about the beginning of Donald Trump's and the Trump organizations and Donald Trump Jr. and Eric Trump's big fraud trial brought by Attorney General Tish James in New York. So, point one, it's a bench trial. That means that Judge Engoron is the person who's going to act as the jury and make decisions. That's kind of a remarkable fact because Trump has been out on the hustings, just vilifying him, savaging him. And it's not clear that he even understood, Trump that is, that it was the judge who was going to determine his fate in the trial. And the indications to date for Trump are not very good. In particular, the summary judgment ruling that Engoron issued last week really took Trump to task, said this is, Trump's arguments that, it's all subjective, these evaluations of property, was fanciful, not the real world. In the real world, there are real valuations. And Trump repeatedly inflated them as a method of doing business to the tune of over $1 billion over the course of the years. So to just reiterate the basic scheme here, it's to take properties that you know are worth nowhere near how you value them, put these hugely inflated price tags on them, and that's a good way to get bigger loans from banks and better insurance premiums and the like. All right, so this trial starts today. It's expected to go until the middle of December. It's in front of this judge who will make the determinations. Now, James, the Attorney General, has asked for civil fines of $250 million. And so that's what's on the table for this trial. In addition, when he granted summary judgment, Justice Engoron, and justice is just the term that New York uses for trial level judges. Don't ask me why, but it doesn't mean he's a Supreme Court top judge. Justice Engoron also determined that the certifications that the various Trump entities have, which make them give them the ability to do business without threatening the personal assets of owners like Trump, that they were, because of the fraud, he was yanking them, and the assets of all these various companies are going to be turned over essentially to a process involving receivers who will be appointed, and they'll decide what happens to the assets, which includes all the signature Trump New York properties, Trump Tower and 40 Wall Street and the two golf courses and the like. That's a separate process. You could sort of analogize it to bankruptcy, but that will involve very significant determinations of disgorgement. That is not exactly the same as normal damages. They will be ordered by determination of independent receivers and the endorsement of judges to have to give back some of these ill-gotten gains to the people who were defrauded and the banks and the like. All right, so humongous overall proceeding that implicates so much of Trump's wealth in New York. We don't know exactly how much, in part because it's extremely labyrinthine corporate arrangements and shell companies and this and that, but it's big and it's bad. Now back to the fraud trial that's just starting. Trump has made a big show of attending the trial, and so he is there today in a blue shirt and brighter blue tie right in front of a very crowded courtroom. It's not clear that he understood that the judge was going to serve as the jury there, because he's been just incredibly vicious even for Trump. But there he is. He presumably thinks he can work his charms on him in some way, or if not that, his presence will stoke the flames of his supporters, who will, he can make the claim even more strongly, as if this is sort of a fifth criminal indictment. And given its gravity, it's a really big case that is certainly one of the arrows in the quiver of the legal system, all in all. And he can, by being there, use it to do basically what he's doing with all these cases, getting contributions to his campaign. Apparently, the biggest day he's had so far was the day after they released the mugshot, and just whip up the crowd with this weird messianic theme that he is being punished for them, and it's all his standing and taking the fire is all a way of retribution for his voters. And that's, basically his political strategy and way to try to elude all these things. And of course, if it fails, what he's left with, the hit to his fortunes and his liberty are just, disastrous. All right. So, opening statements occurred this morning. Justice Engoron made a point of how well he, from his work and experience, understands fraud, which is what's going on here. And basically, I too am a lawyer who does a lot of fraud work, or has done. Fraud means a lie, and a material lie. Fraud means you said something that really could have influenced the decision. So not that the car was green when it was brown, but that the car had 30,000 miles when it had 50,000 miles, a lie that couldn't matter. And that's what Trump's accused of doing. The state got up and gave its opening statement to Justice Engoron, just as it would to a jury, and said this guy defrauded people of over $1 billion over the years, and the fines are justified. And at the end of the trial, again, over 2 months and 150 witnesses will ask you to return a $250 million fine. And then Trump's lawyer got up and basically said, that as Trump said, entering the courtroom, this is a fantastic company, greatest brand in the world. Nobody was hurt because the banks got paid back. And, even if there were lies, and, by the way, some of these are subjective and shifting, and the like. So the initial kind of positions have been staked out, and now we start in with the evidence, which is going to be very long and much of it dull. But a part that's not going to be dull is when the state calls, as they said they will, Donald Trump, maybe Eric Trump, maybe Donald Trump Jr., and they'll use evidence that the Trumps gave in their own depositions. And that kind of evidence can't be, you can't now retreat behind the Fifth Amendment if you've already offered it up. They'll still have a right to answer some questions by invoking their Fifth Amendment rights, but it's a civil trial, and that means under the law, the fact finder, who is again the judge, Justice Engoron, will be entitled to have a presumption that the answer that they're not giving because of the Fifth Amendment would have been bad for them, and would have, increased their culpability for the charges here. So that's, another real tough element of this case. I think it's really ought to be considered one of the whole, especially with the receiver process and the potential $1 billion in disgorgement, one of the whole, handful of really serious cases. The legal system are, bearing down on Trump, and here it is. He's there. It's interesting because he's making a big show of being there. I'm sure he's just not going to be able to stand it, just sitting there while the evidence comes in. And we'll see if he can even, hang in there for the week. But it won't be for very long until I think he's, out of there, and his big show of attending will dissipate. All right, so the big fraud trial starts. The opening statements are had. It will be going for several months and may well involve testimony by Trump and the Trump boys. Ivanka was taken out of the case for statute of limitations grounds, but involve the boys, involve a big fine, and then we've got this whole huge receiver process on the different corporations and properties in New York that's still part and parcel of this. So big, bad situation is just getting underway for Donald Trump. About as serious, I think, a challenge as he faces, other than actually looking at jail time. Apart from that, this is just a complete potential evisceration of the whole Trump brand, such as it is or was. Talk to you later. Thanks for tuning in. If you enjoyed this video and other Talking Feds content, please take a second to like and subscribe. Talk to you later.